And we're back.
Episode number
17?
Where is the powder, Patna?
What? I really hope it's episode 17. Or maybe it was episode 16. No, episode 17. I really don't know. I forgot. Anywho.
Episode 16. Where is the powder, Patna?
Topic number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Attack
on the capital
of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Depending who you listen to, it was either unacceptable and a travesty and a stain on the tapestry of America's history, or it was comical. Depending who you ask. And I think Trump had the point of view of, no, this is comical. Let's let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let's see where it goes.
Oh my gosh.
Because you know what? I'll give him this. He has his finger on the pulse of the populace. Maybe not the populace that we like, but of the populace that is the majority. And they behaved like he thought it was a joke. They were wearing figurines and masks and war paint and carrying batons. It was meant to be, let's use our privilege and let our emotions be shown because the world is our playground versus the world is a place where things are democratically processed for the safety and security of all. No, this is my playground and I'm angry. I'm going to go show the world how I look when I'm angry. And Trump liked it because it's what he wanted. The fact that people died, I don't think... Let's be honest, Trump probably doesn't care. He doesn't want people to die, but it's not going to change his life.
At all.
If you try to think about how he's reacting to situations from a typical, politically correct point of view, you're sadly mistaken as to what's going on in that man's head. He doesn't care if someone died. He didn't die. He didn't die. He had an insurrection on his behalf, though.
I haven't read a lot about, like, what the purpose was or anything. I've only really seen what most people have seen, which is all of the footage of it actually occurring versus, like, the context around which it occurred. Because there's so many, it's just like a clusterfuck of evidence of the real American population. Like, America finally got the president that truly represents them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying individuals, because yes, there's obviously people who live in America who are not like Donald Trump or don't believe in Donald Trump. Duh. Just like there are people who in Canada don't believe in Trudeau and don't agree with Trudeau. There's always going to be people who are not aligned. But if 49% of your population voted against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, 49% of your population stormed the Capitol. And probably in some way
accountable.
Will rationalize the storming of the Capitol. Because I don't think, like, there definitely are people who are on the right side who did not like what occurred. I've definitely seen, like, stories about people who are like, no, the presidency and, like, the White House are like American institutions and they need to be protected and all that stuff. So screw this, but they still sit on that side. Like, they'll rationalize and understand it, but disagree with it versus be outraged by it.
I think what it showed is that there is a certain unspoken behavioral expectation amongst whites in that country, which lets them have, without a shadow of a doubt in their mind, a confidence that they can cross certain lines that are completely fatal for somebody of my color down there. Like, when I think of that kid Kyle Rittenhouse or whatever, who walked into basically a battlefield between the state police and the population and decided he'll walk into this with his gun and just start firing without any concern for himself. That tells me there's an unspoken understanding amongst whites down there that I'm just not privy to. When you storm the Capitol and you're marching towards a Capitol officer of color without any fear and backing him back because you know he can't think he can shoot us. This is our house.
Yeah.
It's a unstated privilege, and I'm not even mad at the privilege. And a lot of memes have been showing like exactly what like black people are thinking about it. It's like, we don't want you to shoot them. We're just like, don't shoot us just like you don't shoot them. It's not we want everyone shot. It's just more so you do know how to do this.
Yeah.
Can we get some of that? That's all it is, really. Can we get some of that? Can I go up into the Capitol with war paint and not get shot and just say, you know what, here's my story to my grandkids? Can I have one of those?
Maybe you could take the podium.
Hey!
Honestly, that was hilarious. Like, the memes of these people are hilarious.
Because that's what it is. It's hilarious.
Because it's ridiculous. It's like, it's exactly like people have probably seen the memes of The Simpsons predicting this down to the exact like weird Viking outfit. Yeah. I don't even know what it is. Like, that is exactly.
This man's
I think it was groundskeeper
organic,
Willie.
He's getting organic food.
He was approved for an organic diet.
This is America.
That's and the fact that I think this, like, what I feel has happened over the last year in the United States is several sequences of visible evidence that white privilege is real.
Yeah.
And it's not to convince BIPOCs. It's not to convince anybody other than evidence for other white people
that they can't
ignore. Are ignorant, that want to pretend like it doesn't exist. Like, I think that
it's clear.
It should be clear by now.
Clear.
Like, I don't know what else you need to do other than storm the Capitol and show and have, like, what else could America really need to show 49% of their population that their privilege exists?
The fact that you enter into this building thinking there will be no consequences when, like, if you're a real criminal, you've already thought, like, well, I can't have my cell phone on me because then my whatever tower I've connected to, it'll register my presence. Like, the things that normal criminals who think there could be consequences would think of, they didn't even think about them. They are baked into privilege. They are born into privilege, that they don't see that outside of what they do is not what their experience is.
Yeah.
That they are so ignorant.
They only live within their own reality. They're unwilling to realize that there is another reality other than their own. There's a truth other than their own. Yeah. And that whatever they believe to be truth is in fact one very small piece of the pie, because they don't understand how their truth. Because if they're like, they're not wrong. They're not wrong about their own privilege and their own supremacy that they seek. But what they don't clue into is how that affects everyone else that they interact with.
Yeah.
They have no idea. They just know, well, God save the Queen. No, that's not. That's the UK.
Same thing.
Same shit. Like, don't tread on me. Whatever the fuck. Confederacy for life. Like,
I seen I'm not sure if this is accurate, what happened in it, but if I'm remembering it correctly, there was somebody who was arrested trying to, like, flee back to their home address or whatever after the insurrection, and they were arrested, and it was a black officer and a white officer, and she was, like, talking while she was being arrested by the black officer. She was talking to the white one like, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's like, man, this country is beautiful. This country is beautiful.
Like, I don't know what else.
It's not even a secret no more. It's like an open secret.
Yeah.
Like, we're racist. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, like if you were, the history books, when they amend them for this year, they'll go racist, privilege, I should say, white. The country's ranked by the most white privilege.
Yes.
The 2021 attack on the Capitol, I believe it's going to be called that in the history books, attack on the Capitol. And it's going to be, because it's basically the capital of the world, with the apparent strong, like most powerful leader in the world. It's going to be this. This is going to be in the history books.
Interesting times.
I really do think so. Mm-hmm. And I thought what else was funny was how much media there was showing, like, the not the National Guard, whoever the security is.
Sleeping on the floor?
No, opening the barricades to let them in. Like, that's the worst. Like, you zoom in.
Side.
Like, you wanted them to do this? It's such a disrespect. Like, even if you are white and supremacist and privileged and all that stuff, if you really love America and all of the stuff it stands for, you'd want nobody to touch the White House. Because that to you would be like your heaven.
All those people were like, it's just like when Colin was like taking his knee and they were saying it's disrespecting to the troops. It's like, so what is this?
Yeah, exactly.
What is this?
So he kneeled at a football game.
They caused death.
Didn't touch anybody, didn't have any weapons, quite literally was playing for the white man. And that was offensive. That caused such a fucking stir. Like,
after a while, it just gets to the point where I got to a few years ago where there's no point in arguing with somebody who's intent on misunderstanding you. And what's even worse is in the States, the misunderstanding seems to be intentful. Like it's not even like I just believe I'm right. It's like, no, I want you to believe that I think you're crazy.
I just saw that quote in a meme. I mean, it's an old one, but I think Charlemagne just posted that recently. That there's no point in arguing with someone whose intent is to misunderstand you.
Yeah.
Someone and misunderstanding.
They're the ones who need twisted tea upside the head. Misunderstanding
isn't just listening and then not getting it. Misunderstanding is assuming a position before you have the opportunity to listen.
Yeah, and maintaining it regardless of what input you've been given.
Yeah.
Those are the worst.
And there's no point with speaking with those people because you will always be wrong. You will never get a word in.
Fair.
All right.
How do you feel about the way the vaccines have been administered?
It looked like they're doing it as planned. Like what they said, how they're going to roll it out is exactly how it's playing out. I guess I'm curious to know how people feel about really old people getting vaccinated first, who are not of the working class. Because I get emotionally why that makes sense. Protect our seniors. But it does prolong the vaccination process for the people who are working and living within the economy.
I think...
Not that seniors don't, just get me wrong, not that seniors don't contribute to the economic stability, just saying that they're not super... Yeah, that's all.
I think that the elderly and the essential workers should be treated as equivalent in terms of the vaccination process. Outside of that, whatever you think, or you by meaning the world thinks, go for it. But I think the people who are most vulnerable should get it first. And they're equivalent to me because they're working without choice and others can die very easily. And I think we're getting very close to a point. I think 2021 is going to be just as wild as 2020. I think it's going to be just as wild. It's going to be even wilder probably. Because
everybody's patience is done.
And there's no more room for well, we think this is the way we should do it. It's like, nah, I'm done with your thinking. I'm about to do what I'm doing. So there's people there. There's a creation of like a vaccine passport currently being like created. How it could be or would be administered, who knows? But the fact that it's in creation means it's for use. How that's going to go when probably less than 50% is willing to use it, that's where we're going to get a whole lot more insurrection in many ways. The fact that the numbers now, we've had a year of COVID, we have concrete numbers to go off. The majority of deaths have been people who are 65 and over, and they represent at least over 80 to 85% of all deaths. Aside from that, it's like 0.0001% people who die outside of that population. People who get those numbers eventually in a digestible manner are going to be like, fuck you. And when you have more than 50 plus one saying fuck you, the management of the COVID process is done. Now it becomes the management of the population who does not align with the government.
What I think will eventually happen is that people who are... Okay, I think this really needs to be a big distinction. Anti-vaccine doesn't mean... Anti-vaxxers do not equate to, I will not take this vaccination.
Yes.
Because you can be an anti-vaxxer and be against all vaccination, but you can also just be someone who looks at the numbers, doesn't agree, and says, I don't believe I need to take this vaccination. Maybe in the future, but for right now, I don't believe that I'm in a vulnerable position. So I do not need it, or I do not want to take it. And that is within everybody's right to do. In Canada, it's not going to be mandatory. So whatever this vaccination passport is has to take into account that there's still choice.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that eventually the government is going to see that there's a large amount of people who will not take the vaccine. And a lot of them are young people. Not because they're anti-vaxxers, not because they're dumb and like, oh, I don't want to take it, whatever, I'm above science. It's not that. It's that they're just looking at the numbers.
Results.
They're just looking at the data saying, well, if all of the vulnerable people get vaccinated and I'm in the least vulnerable group and I generally am healthy, I don't have any, like, I still think that if you're immunocompromised, you should get it because that puts you in a vulnerable group, whether you're older or a frontline worker or not. So again, save the vaccine for the people who A, want to take it and B, have to take it.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't that just make it so much easier for the country to control how much of the vaccination they actually order?
I don't think so. I think the reason why these vaccines are being pushed is because the science, the people who are creating it respect science, and they realize that eventually no one's going to even need this or want this. So we got to force it on them as soon as possible, because eventually you get to herd immunity. You get mutations from this one virus,
which is already occurring in 2 different places in the world.
And so now you have all this thing that you spent all your money developing that nobody wants. We are not going to be, I guarantee you, by the end of this, maybe 25% of the population at max will be vaccinated in both countries. At max, because it won't be needed any longer. The people who need it will have taken it, and there will be variants, and then there will be people who see, okay, well, you know what? Fuck it. It doesn't kill. People in my demographic, if you go according to the math, yes, there are exceptions. I'm not being disrespectful for those who have lost or those who will lose, but at the same time, science is not about feelings. It's about empirical information. It's gonna pass, and it's gonna pass faster than the economy would like it to, for their benefit.
I agree.
Yes, there are, and also there are, like, I've seen way too many posts now, and considering that Twitter and Facebook, they're like hyper on it whenever you post fake media, that they take it down. The fact that there are so many that are still up that are saying adverse reaction to this vaccine, adverse reactions to that vaccine. This person got COVID after getting the vaccine. The vaccine's done. The vaccine, like in terms of a mass population approach, the vaccine is done, straight up and down.
Well,
I know that face. I have it often. Lockdown!
What?
Nothing.
We're already switching?
No,
Why'd you say that then?
because that's the face that I have. And then I say lockdown like 15 times.
I'm going to edit this out because I'm very confused as to what's happening.
Nothing.
You're not moving to
No.
the next? Oh, okay. So you just said it for no reason? I'm confused if we're still on this topic.
Vaccines.
Right. Okay. Anyways, I lost my train of thought. You do this to me often. Yes. I think that a fair amount of people will get vaccinated and then there'll be herd immunity.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can all go outside. I'm not that concerned about the vaccine for me because I really feel like I have a good immune system. Like before this, I feel like I had COVID already. Before it was a thing. I got COVID before it was a thing.
There you go.
But I also just take care of myself. I mean, we beefed up our immune system defense in terms of taking more vitamin and supplements. We've listened, done some research on that, so that's fine. Before this,
quick tidbit.
Yes.
Zinc helps block COVID from attaching onto your cell, the segment of your cells that would help it to replicate. So zinc blocks that process.
And turmeric, something that reduces inflammation, helps your body absorb zinc better.
There you go.
So if you're taking turmeric supplements, that's really good. And if you're taking that with zinc as well, and then vitamin D.
There you go.
So we have beefed up vitamin D. We have some zinc, and I don't take turmeric because the zinc that we take, well, that I take at least, is in a format that is highly absorbable. So I think that I'll be okay. My concern about who gets vaccinated are like my mom, who's in the older demographic, people in my family who are a lot older, and people who I know that are in contact with people with COVID every day, which are frontline workers.
Yes.
So to me,
Greater pain.
exactly. To me, that makes sense. I understand people, I understand that the economy is it's a really big deal in terms of how do we maintain and restart and rebuild our economy because of this. And so places like Indonesia or Singapore are choosing to prioritize people who work, like working adults, in like essential workers, not just frontline workers, in their priority of vaccination, which I understand. But I think in America, or in North America, in Canada, we have a different makeup. We have a different emphasis. Our economy is driven by different things. And as you've said before, the global economy always balances itself out because it has to. Even if we go into a depression, eventually the world balances itself out. So
it's all numbers.
It's the same thing with the vaccination. When the vulnerable audiences get vaccinated, it'll all balance itself out. And I don't think I'll get vaccinated until I absolutely have to. For whatever reason, I don't know.
I'm not doing it.
But I don't think I need to.
Yeah. It's going to be hard for me to convince myself to do something that I don't think I need to do.
Yeah. I get it. Like sometimes it's preventative. Like I'll do stuff that's preventative, but I don't believe that this is the way to be preventative. I would prefer to build up my immune system naturally.
If I haven't taken the flu shot in all these years, why am I going to
I
take
haven't
this
taken
one?
the flu shot since I was in high school.
Exactly.
I have never. And I never got the flu after that. I've maybe gotten it twice in my life.
Maybe you just need to take care of your body better. Or like take care of how you interact with your world better. Like don't be nasty ass fucking people letting dogs lick up your face and think you need the flu shots because y'all do nasty shit.
Yeah, I mean I remember when the pandemic ran, people were like, "This is how you wash your hands." Like you don't know that.
Ben.
You don't know that. You don't know that you shouldn't walk around your house with your fucking dirty shoes from outside or go on your bed with your dirty ass shoes like they do on like TV shows.
You need the flu shot.
You need all the shots. You need like whatever the hell. You know, influenza and like typhoid. You need them all.
Get them.
Whatever the fuck.
Like Pokemon.
Gotta catch them all.
Absolutely.
Lockdown!
There you go. Lockdown!
3, which we are in Ontario.
Yes.
Again. It's so fucking frustrating.
Big shout out to Quebec, who always punches above its weight. Y'all are on curfew.
Which is so useless.
Yeah. Like
I'm sorry.
I'll say you get a $6,000 fine.
Here's the thing. I understand the notion of lockdown. However, this is too little too late now. Yeah. Like, if you were going to lock us down, in the first lockdown, it should have been strict as fuck. That's what Asia did.
Yeah.
That's why people in Asia are having fucking music festivals. Yeah. Taiwan did it when SARS, they're the best case of how to control a pandemic because they fucking beat SARS in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. Looking at like in Quebec, because, well, we'll get to this also later, because it's substantially colder during the winter months, the whole cuffing season takes on a whole hyper mentality that Toronto mans really just can't understand the true essence of the flex because y'all can go outside during this winter. So telling people, so you got to be inside by 8:30 just means you're telling more people to cuff up earlier, so you got to be making less rational decisions about where you cuff, so you end up cuffing in more places than you should be. You might actually be growing COVID numbers because of the way Quebec behaves. I'm just saying, because the cuffing might be less reasonable because it's so rushed. It's like when you're trying to do your hockey draft and you're like, you got 2 minutes to make your pick. You might pick like, I don't know, Mark Stone is your first pick when it should be Draisaitl or something. Just saying.
Oh dear.
Just saying. All you're doing is making it worse. People should be able to go to Couche-Tard and get a fucking milkshake at 8:45 p.m. if they want, without getting a $6,000 fine that they won't pay.
But here's the thing. They put a curfew in place because people were not adhering to the lockdown. They put a lockdown in place because people weren't adhering to the suggestions to stay at home. People put a stay at home in place because there was a pandemic. What has never changed? Quebecers going out.
Yeah.
So
And gathering.
if you think that your rules and your fines are going to stop Quebecers, you're wrong. The problem is with the people. It's not with the pandemic. Like, that's the thing. And Quebec is just the U.S. version of what
There are Florida.
they're like the people call the West the Wild West. Quebec is the Wild West.
Quebec is Florida.
Quebec is the Wild West.
Like, remember a couple months ago there was like an alligator on the streets or whatever randomly that some woman ran out and picked up and brought back inside of her house?
No, I do not follow.
I've sent you it. Trust me, you've seen it. Like all the weird shit in this country
happens in Quebec.
happens in Quebec. Oh, it's Florida.
And the thing
It's
is,
Florida.
like,
I'm from Florida.
I tried. So with our initial lockdowns, we listened. We didn't go out. We didn't do shit. We masked up.
We really did. We really did.
And hello, it's not fucking working. That's the thing. With people like me who, like, we listen.
We're willing to accept order when we trust where the order is coming from.
And now
it still
there's
didn't make a difference.
no data for me to believe that a lockdown works.
Yeah.
There's no data for me to
Suicides
support
are up, depression's up.
that a stay-at-home order works. If anything, it just kills us in a different way.
Yeah.
If we're not going to be killed by COVID-19, we're going to be killed by mental health. Like that's what's
Facts, Nig.
that's what's killing us right now. And lockdowns aren't working. So what the government needs to do, the municipalities need to do, they need to figure out, how do we safely structure people living? Because people are going to continue to live and do whatever the fuck they want. So instead of locking them indoors, why don't you put in measures that you think would help facilitate them not being stuck?
Remember when she said, "Let them eat bread"?
Who?
I don't know who it was. You read. Somebody said that.
Why me?
You know that I don't read.
Oh my god.
But there was somebody in history when their population was starving, and she said, "No, let them eat cake. Like, they need bread. Let them eat cake." Didn't they eventually kill her or something, or topple her?
What is the story?
I don't know.
What is this coming from?
I don't know. But all I'm saying is, if the leaders keep telling us what to do, eventually we're just gonna be like, no. Like, it's that moment in, like, a black kid's history when their mom is beating them. We're like, no, you're not hitting me.
Your privilege.
Yeah, I guess, maybe.
I don't think
Most
there
black
are
kids
other.
didn't tell mom, no, you ain't beating me.
I don't think any. That was your white privilege.
Maybe.
I don't think any.
Thanks, Dada.
Any other child would be able to say that to their mom except for you.
What age was I?
And white children.
I think I was like, I was 15 when I said, no, you're not hitting me.
Okay, Karen. See, he said, "May I please speak to the manager?" Manager was his dad.
Hey, it worked out.
Anyways, yeah, the lockdown is not working, and now we've just gone into a stricter lockdown in fucking Ontario. What the fuck is it gonna do?
Yeah,
it
stay-at-home
literally
orders.
makes no difference to us.
We're all staying at home, period.
There's no difference. So why the
And if
fuck?
you're partying, period.
Exactly. Just let us fucking gather, because you know what? Oh, the cases are rising. I stay home every day like a good fucking Torontonian, transplant.
There you go.
And what happens? The numbers exponentially grow. So what's the difference between me being at home, the numbers growing, and me being able to go to the fucking mall and walk in a circle in the dead of winter? What's the difference between going to a sporting event,
Socially distant.
socially distanced? You know, maybe you just release a certain amount of tickets so that at least for 2 hours, for 3 periods, I can fucking escape in my mind, not having to think that I'm locked down.
Indeed.
That's my frustration about the lockdowns.
But thank the unreligious God that sports are back.
True.
The
Yesterday?
NBA, the NBA has been fun, but what really was a start for me was wall-to-wall hockey, and Saturday was back.
I like hockey better than the NBA, not just because of you, but because the reffing's better.
It's a more consistent game.
I get less frustrated watching hockey than I do watching basketball, because when I watch basketball, all I do is yell about the refs.
Indeed.
At least when I watch hockey, I can just focus on the teams. I can trust that the refs will at least be fair.
Yes.
And whatever they don't call that's unfair is because it's impossible to see at that pace. That's
they
what I
usually
believe.
have makeup calls if they can catch
Yeah,
it later.
and they take reviews seriously. They don't just like in basketball. How fast is the ball really moving? It's not going fucking 89 miles per hour. This pass, you can
Hockey
see
is
whether
great.
or not it's fucking traveling.
Hockey's great. Saturday wall to wall from. Although this is where I do miss another aspect of being on the West Coast is that hockey starts 3 hours earlier.
Oh
So
yeah, here it's so late.
so like that 1 p.m. game that's usually like Boston, New York, usually religiously would start at 10 a.m. So you start your day with a 10 a.m. game. Then you get the 12 p.m. game that's usually like the Chicago game, the Central Time game. Get that at 12. Then at 4 p.m. you get all the East Coast games. And at 10 p.m. you get all the West Coast games. Then you get all the late night talk about the hockey. That's fucking wall to wall of hockey all day. Saturdays are great. And they're back, bitch. They're back. They're back.
And I have more steak because I'm in a pool.
Oh yeah, pools make hockey so fun.
You're in
like,
2 pools.
Yeah. Just being able to like you just turn on the TV, put your games on.
I totally
Watch.
get pools now. This is my first pool. I
Follow
totally
your
get
points.
pools. I mean, it was
Great.
fun if I knew your players, and then I can
It's
still
great.
follow. But now I have my own stake.
Like this alone will help lockdown. Like with hockey being back, and I'll say late night has gotten back a bit now. It's still a little bit weird, but they're back to a point where I can watch them. And that's kind of what my routine has always been. Watch some hockey, then watch some late night. So it's not that I'm just missing the playing the hockey part now and maybe going to go see a movie and eating
Yeah.
out. Playing hockey, eating out, and going to see a movie are the 3 last things that I need to make lockdown, I guess, quote unquote, over.
For me, it would definitely be walking aimlessly around Canadian Tire or Muji. It would definitely be like I really did want to go and like watch games.
Yeah.
Even like because Toronto's it's a sport town that you can even get like minor league games or
Mhm.
other games that would probably be fun to watch. I miss watching games. I miss going to arenas.
Yes.
I do. Movies for sure.
Yeah.
Very upset about that not happening on Christmas Day
Yep.
because normally I try to do a double or triple header on Christmas Day.
Fire.
And also I think eating at restaurants because the delivery quality, let me tell ya.
Ooh, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll get to that later. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, delivery food leads us into our next topic.
Well, no.
What?
No.
What
The
are you talking
NHL
about?
and how it's going to affect COVID numbers.
Oh.
So a friend brought up a topic that I was thinking about naturally. Like, this is how we need to be thinking about the pandemic outside the box in terms of curbing numbers. If we know who is driving the numbers up, which is unruly, uncontrollable white privilege that likes to say, no, I'm going outside. I'm going to have a protest about the mask. Like, if you look at those crowds, you can see who's in it. Let's just be real. Let's just be real.
There's a sprinkle of colors, but
Yeah.
it's majority.
It's the
A little
majority.
snowy.
The majority is the majority. So, and
And possibly immigrants who don't wear their mask properly.
yes, true, very true. They're fucking notorious. But my friend was saying that, well, he was asking me my opinion. Do you think that with the NHL back, it'll make COVID numbers drop? Now he framed it as just all numbers dropping, but for me, I took it as white lens on himself as the quote unquote standard, but still a valid point of view or a valid analysis. But let's put it into scope. And I think, will this stop white men from going outside to the bars and such and gallivanting?
Because they can't go out. They'll still gather, I think. They'll watch games together, but at least they'll be at home.
they'll be at home and they'll be in their bubbles.
That's
They'll
true.
be creating bubbles.
That's true.
Naturally, like it'll be an organic process where they create their own NHL bubbles. And I think numbers will start to drop now that the NHL is back, at least in Canada, because we can all get by with a little bit of hockey. I really believe, I think that could
And
be a
if-
slogan
If
almost.
bars are closed, the only place you can drink, because the liquor stores are open, get your liquor, come home, watch the game. You're for sure at home for X amount of games.
Yeah. Now, not everybody likes hockey as much as the white crowd. I'm one of them. Take that however you wish, splice it however you wish, denigrate it however you wish. But there are a lot of people who enjoy hockey, and if not, there's also basketball that's back, the NFL being back. But speaking in Canada in particular, I think the NHL being back will have a bigger effect on those who need to go outside because there's nothing to keep them inside. So I think Canada's numbers will see a sincere effect from sports being back. I think
We'll
so.
see.
That's my hypothesis.
That will be an interesting one to follow.
Follow up on.
Right. Okay. So now, the topic that I was going to move to, which is
no middle tier in Vancouver of any sort for anything. Almost.
Well, specifically, we were talking about this the other day, but we started off with food. So now that we've lived Montreal, well, at least me as well, Montreal, Vancouver, Toronto, there are so many things we can compare.
Yes.
And one of them is bouginess to extreme non-bouginess.
Yes.
Like in Toronto, I specifically wanted to move here because I thought, oh, there's so much cuisine here, there's so much food here. And a disclaimer is that we've only really been able to try COVID Toronto food.
Yeah.
Which is probably not fair. So we understand that's not the case. But in Toronto, we have been catfished quite a bit in terms of we'll get takeout or we'll pick up or whatever. And the thing looks good, let's say, on the app or on their Instagram or on their website. But then we eat it and it's like, really shouldn't have paid that much for that.
The business abstraction of food ordering in this city is great, but the actual product is usually, I don't want to say trash.
It's not. It's like middle. It's like,
It's
okay.
like, I paid a lot for this.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do it again.
Yes.
This was not worth it.
Yeah.
This was not worth it.
And again, we're taking into account the fact that we are getting delivery or we're
Yes.
picking up and we're not eating in a restaurant, which is when you can put your best foot forward. So
Absolutely.
That's fair. That is more than fair. And I'm sure that there are lots of these places that would wish that you could eat in because it would be different. The food quality would be totally different.
Yeah.
Just so true.
And we do have one example, which is Bono.
Yeah.
When you go there,
It's so good.
it's amazing. You get it. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's just dry as fuck.
Yeah.
It's whack, to be quite honest.
It's
whack.
not good.
Yeah.
They're a
it's
good
not.
example of the delivery turned us off from them. But we were faithfully eating there.
We would go there.
We would go there because it's also not that
That was
far.
our routine. Bueno and a movie.
In a movie, yeah. And it's so good in the restaurant. I think
Yes.
about it now and I want to cry because it's so
Indeed.
delicious.
Indeed.
And I'm sure there are other places
Korean
just like
barbecue grill.
Yeah.
Queen.
Oh, any food. Yeah, it's true. Any food in a restaurant, because you're on their terms, they can put their best foot forward.
Yeah.
And we just have not been able to have that experience here. So we get catfished by a lot of these places. You end up spending more money because they've got to charge more. And I understand they need to survive. So I'm happy to pay them because these restaurants would literally not be able to survive without these things. And the only thing, the downside to that is that we just get food that we paid a lot. We get food we paid a lot for. That wasn't that great. So in
I'm
Toronto,
still fucking hungry.
yeah, in Toronto, there's so many options, but not all the options are good.
Yes. In contrast with Montreal, there's a good amount of options, but the options you have, at least you're willing to eat them again. But the business infrastructure, like I think Montreal probably did worse with COVID because they're not good with business infrastructure, I've realized, with like, and the fact that there are two languages to service, and some people like to be ignorant to one or the other, which means you lose half of your demographic. So businesses have a harder time surviving. So there, in fact, those that do survive are usually the fucking lick. And that's what I like about Montreal.
And let's be really clear of where this started. It started with pizza.
Yes.
Because Toronto pizza that we've had so far is not good.
It's bad.
what we're talking
It's
about,
actually bad.
we're making a classification. So in Vancouver, this is what we think. Authentic Italian pizza. Like if you're going for Napoli pizza, delicious.
00 pizza.
Delicious. Like you go to Via Tavera, I think on Commercial is where it's at. You have that. You have Don't Argue. You have Marcello's. You have there's another Italian place like right on Commercial. Anyways, delicious, authentic Italian. And then that's like the spectrum over here.
That's the
Authenticity.
bougie.
That's the bougie.
Yeah.
Then on the other side of the spectrum,
You have your
Domino's,
your Pizza
Panago, Pizza Hut, just your
The chains.
your takeout, your delivery pizza, right? You're not gonna go eat there.
But there's no middle tier.
There's nothing in the middle.
There's no mom and pop that came up and is good. Like you have your Duffins. Yes. But there aren't enough of those.
Yeah.
There just aren't enough of those. We're like, oh, I gotta bring you here.
Well,
I gotta bring you here.
I should say that there's not enough of those in the food categories that you like.
That are North American staples.
Yeah.
Because Vancouver is very much an Asian cuisine. Like
Yeah.
the palate is Asian.
Yeah.
So the Asian food, like, and this is where then we decided to think about like Chinese food. In Vancouver, somebody who came from Montreal, I can't get what I thought of as Chinese food because there are Chinese people there who eat real Chinese food. So then when they would make the North American trashy Chinese food, it's not even good enough because there's nobody to really critique it because they're just satisfied that they can get something probably.
Yeah.
So there's no middle tier of foods in Vancouver.
And the non-Chinese people who grew up in Vancouver condition themselves to eating authentic Chinese food. So we're good with that.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't want fake Chinese food because
They don't
we
want
get
the General
real.
Tao.
And it's not because we don't think it's good. It's because we're conditioned to want.
Better.
No, not even better. We're conditioned to want the authentic,
Authenticity.
right? Because you can still have North Americanized Chinese food that's good. It's just not authentic Chinese food. It's a different recipe for a different demographic. The demographic there isn't conditioned to like or want General Tao chicken.
Yeah.
Like,
That's fair.
why would we get that when we can get legit need a translator for this type of food? You know?
Yeah.
And that's fair. But the thing is, more and more people like you are moving into Vancouver.
And looking for it, and it creates opportunity.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing with, like, a lot of people will hate on that. So as somebody who came to Vancouver, I think anybody who comes in from a city that's older or has a larger population that's more diverse and has had time to have generations in that diversification, they have an expectation of what should be available in an urban center. And you can look at it, approach it from two ways when you get to Vancouver. Be very disappointed or see it as an opportunity, which I think that's how BC is set up. They give you a fertile land and say, now it's up to you to make the most of it because we will not help you. Mm-hmm. But because there's more than enough resource here for you to find a way. And everybody, that's what I said. When I got to Vancouver, I was telling my friend Dieter, my best man at our wedding, that he should be more appreciative of Vancouver because it breeds better humans in a sense of taking care of oneself and being self-sufficient because you have to do it. And once you do it, the quality of your life is better than somebody who's out here in the rat race in Toronto because they're still trying to get that hourly wage, whereas you grinded hard enough to create something that is just self-sustaining because you put in the initial work by tilling the fertile soil that Vancouver offers. And like, not to hate on the Caribbean options that are in Vancouver because I've lived with them and been very thankful for them, but call a spade a spade.
They're not Toronto or Montreal.
If you brought Caribbeans there, they would, like, if I brought my friends and family from Montreal and Toronto and to the places that I eat at in Vancouver as my Caribbean spots, they would laugh at me.
They'd say it's trash.
They would laugh at me. And that's not to be disrespectful to those companies because I'm thankful for you, but the food cannot service those who create it. It just can't. Mm-hmm. It just can't. And there's opportunity for that. There's opportunity for like a good pizza company.
Middle tier.
Yes. Middle tier. Like
North Americanized pizza.
If you like, I've come to realize I was spoiled. Montreal pizza is just something different, and it's because every like Middle Eastern family or Italian family that came in, they created a certain style of pizza that only they could create, and then that sold. So the Domino's don't get very much money. The high cuisine rustic Italian pizza places don't get the money. It's that give me $1.99 slice of that Montreal goodness, and you got to have that.
The only place that comes close is straight out of Brooklyn Pizza.
Yes.
In Vancouver.
Yes.
That is the best middle tier pizza that I've had. Like I crave it.
Yes,
like I'll crave it
good.
sometimes over like Italian, authentic Italian pizza, which I love too. So again, it's not that I don't think that the pizza in Vancouver is good. I just understand that there are different tiers that the demographic might want. And
Yeah.
I am satisfied with what I want. But now that I've tried what middle tier tastes like in Montreal, I like that pizza. And what I would love to see about Vancouver is having more options for the palates that immigrate into Vancouver from other parts of the country.
I think because Vancouver is still so young that all the people who come in, and I think it also attracts a different demographic through its immigration. It attracts those who are looking to really work freaking hard because they know what they're entering. Like the black immigration in Vancouver is from Nigeria. It's mostly like Nigerian or West African, and those cultures are all about work hard, be a doctor, be a lawyer. Like they're really about grind hard. Whereas whatever, call spade a spade, if you come to Montreal and Toronto, it's attracting Caribbean. Not to say that we don't work hard, because we do, but we don't work in the same, like we don't work towards the same types of goals as African countries. We work towards making sure you have a lot of jobs, not making sure you're working smarter. Whereas over in Nigeria or whatever, I use them as a base, they want you to work really, really hard so this way you don't have to work hard later. They try to make you work smarter.
I would say which is a very West Coast thing, because a lot of people, I was having this conversation with your brother when you were baking, but a lot of people were like, oh, whatever, the West is laid back. And it's like, yeah, but we also work really hard when we have to. The difference between us and the East Coast, is that we work really hard so that we can play hard. Like, I work hard, and for anyone who thinks that I'm lazy, I'll just be like, okay, that's what you think. Because if my relaxing looks like I'm lazy, that's on you. That's not my problem, because I know that I work hard in the time when I have to. The difference between West Coast and East Coast is that the West Coast works hard in a concentrated amount of time so that they can relax later on, and the East Coast works hard to like over
burns themselves out.
Like they are so used to high density population, which means more competition, which means you have to keep going to keep up. And in Vancouver, specifically Vancouver, what you mentioned to Dieter and what I think is what I appreciate most about Vancouver now, having been away from there, is that I appreciate that whatever people get pissed off about in Vancouver is not worth being pissed off about anymore, because it means that you've just found an opportunity to change. You just found an opportunity to do better. You've just found an opportunity to grow a business. Whatever you find that's wrong with the Vancouver,
you can be the fix.
You don't have to complain about it for very long. Like, just do it.
Our Caribbean restaurant is coming soon. Oh, it's coming.
Watch for that.
It's coming.
'Cause
authentic recipes.
Real recipes.
That are going to stay authentic recipes.
Not
if you don't
change.
Like it, then you don't buy it.
Next,
Soup Nazi.
It will not be the North American. It won't be middle tier. This will be the Chinese authentic version in Vancouver of Caribbean food.
Yes.
But
fucking proper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is not an attack on y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. I ain't gonna say you by name. I love y'all. But it's gotta be better. It's gotta be better. It's gotta be better.
We'll put it this way. The companies that
my plantain must be sliced right.
The companies that the restaurants that exist, they're the inspiration. They're the foreground. They've been holding it down, having zero options to having some options.
Yes.
Which is
thankful.
Which is more than enough.
Yeah,
which
fed
is
me
like
many nights. Thankful.
So it's
but
not.
We need to do better.
Yeah. And also it's different. Like, I feel like the particular one that you frequent that is quite close in proximity has just a different take. It's not necessarily authentic.
Indeed. And
authentic flavors, but like also, experimental.
That's their business model.
Creativity, adding in something new.
That's their business model, and I ain't gonna knock them, but I'm just saying my palate needs something.
And your palate is special.
Special. Where's the fucking snow, Toronto?
I know.
Where's the snow? I've been catfished my entire life. I grew up in Montreal. Born and raised. The playground, is where I spend most of my days.
As if we didn't
For 26, listen.
As if we didn't.
For 26 years, I lived in Montreal thinking that Toronto got the same winters that we did.
And I blame my catfish on you.
Yeah, fair enough. I take responsibility
Because
for it.
he told me, it's pretty much the same, like maybe like 3 to 5 degree difference.
Yeah.
No.
It's fucking
It's like
ridiculous.
a 10-degree difference.
So right now I'm seeing all my friends and family, you know, they're out there with their kids. They're all on like snow hills, throwing snowballs. And it's minus 12. You know, they got like 10 centimeters of snow. I'm looking outside my window. Looks like it's about to be Halloween.
It looks like Vancouver.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I moved to the East Coast so I could experience real snow. As I've been telling him, he thinks I'm crazy, but I love snow, so I just want to experience it in however way I can. I've gotten none, except for Montreal last year.
Yeah,
Not last year, year before.
I feel like I feel. Have you ever played Minesweeper and you hit that one block that blows up a big ass portion of understanding of the overall grid? Minesweeper, it was all Windows game.
Yes.
Yes. Fucking Apple people.
You've used this term.
So whenever I would fly, I'd always end up flying in winter for some reason. And I'd always end up getting stuck in an airport. So I've slept in Vermont's airport overnight. I've slept in Philly's airport. I've slept in Newark. And I'd always wonder, so you guys have been flying for decades. You guys don't know that winter happens? Like, you haven't figured out how to fly? But whenever I'd have to fly out of Montreal or into Montreal, they were still flying. So I was always perplexed. And then Boston would still fly. And then Toronto wouldn't. So I'd be like, how can Boston do it, but Toronto can't? Toronto's like Montreal. I'm so disappointed in you, Toronto. It's just snow.
How? Chicago O'Hare? Isn't Boston in Chicago? Or the other way around, something like that? How does it work?
Boston?
Isn't Boston in Massachusetts?
Yes,
Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
Okay. Woo. That's my Canadian ignorance right there.
Isn't Boston in Chicago?
Hey man, that's like when I was
downtown Canada.
That's like when I was in New York and someone said that what they were seeing in the Vancouver 2010 Olympics was Toronto.
Hey, downtown Canada.
That was the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my life. When I was in New York, someone was
Canada.
like, you mean to tell me that when they pan over the city on the TV, that's not Toronto? No, bitch, it says Vancouver 2010 Olympics. How can it be Toronto?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes. We digress. So I always used to wonder how Montreal could find a way to fly, but Toronto couldn't, but Boston could, Philly couldn't. And I was like, Toronto, you're weak sauce. You're fucking weak sauce. And now to realize they've been catfishing Canada the whole time, saying that they're the fucking screw-faced cold capital because when it gets cold here, mans have to be fucking inside. It's not fucking cold.
It's colder in Montreal.
It's not. Easily. You guys have been catfishing Americans acting like you. Drake in his fucking videos. It's fucking cold outside, man. So man's fucking out here, eh?
Mind you, your brother did say that only in the last couple years has it been this mild.
Fair.
He said that before it was much more snowy, that for some reason, global warming, probably became like this in the last few years.
Fair, fine.
But still,
I'll still be ignorant as fuck about it, though.
I still think that it's warmer here than in Toronto. Well, in Montreal. Sorry.
They still weren't flying properly when it was snowing back then, so I still rate them as weak sauce when it comes to the fucking winterness. Still.
Anyways.
That being said, like looking at the fucking temperature, it's minus 12 in Montreal and it's minus 2 in Toronto. It's like it's a different vibe. It's a complete different flex, though, Doc.
Dry Willy. Which we will see over the next couple of weeks because the polar vortex is supposed to hit Toronto. We'll see how vortexy it gets.
Indeed.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Because still haven't even gotten real snow here. Nah. Where I'm happy.
I haven't made a snowball.
Like, here, it's been Vancouver snow. Ooh. What's the point of being here if I could have just been at home? They at least got snow on my birthday.
And in the mountains where you can snowboard on those motherfuckers.
And there's no there's no close mountains here. So
I look forward to taking my snowboard out of storage.
I look forward to getting it. Because I've never been snowboarding with you, but I actually know how to snowboard.
I enjoyed it. Went up there with Dieter. It was a good time. And I actually wasn't bad. After a while, I got down the whole hill without falling. So I was satisfied.
I used to go pretty often to Cleary's, actually.
And I was shredded.
No, not Cleary's. Carmelo. Different person.
Shredded.
Anyways, I haven't been snowboarding in a long time, but I really want to go.
Indeed.
I really want to go. It was fun. I can't remember how we would get up there, though. Bro. Any hoodle. Black Shirt Day.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So this is a Vancouver started initiative. I forget what ARC stands for.
Anti-racism coalition.
That's it, right? So they decided to wear or promote that people wear black T-shirts on January the 15th to coincide with Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the States. Okay, great cause, great way to unify the process across the borders, kind of like how we have Thanksgiving and they have Columbus Day. Yeah, so yeah, exactly, right? Great way to unify.
Sarcasm.
But it's a good cause, and I think it's a good way to spur a discussion and knowledge about Martin Luther King Jr. And in Vancouver, we really don't have a direct linking cause that's as passionate in terms of numbers to black causes. It's more so it literally is a coalition in this case. That being said, I like that aspect. I like the idea, but this is where it gets dicey for me. It's in the application. One, we got black shirt. No, first we got pink T-shirts for the fucking bullied kids so they can get ribbons and not cry.
Go on.
And we have Orange Shirt Day for the missing and Indigenous women, which I can appreciate the cause. Once again, it's a T-shirt. So that's 2 T-shirts. Now we have Black Shirt Day.
Don't forget Jeans Day.
We got Black Shirt Day for racism. Then we have Jeans Day for cancer. Is it cancer?
I can't remember. No, that's where your daffodil. Jeans Day might be. See, that's the thing. I grew up with Jeans Day. I don't even remember what it's for, but I just know we always wear jeans on a certain day at work.
This is my point exactly.
It's just a day to change how you dress.
We are just dressing at this point. Nobody knows why. We're just wearing clothing at this point.
Oh, don't forget purple for suicide awareness.
So if I'm wearing purple, maybe I feel like I'm being regal. It's the hardest color in the color spectrum to create. So I feel like I'm regal that day. Now I'm doing it for suicide, you said?
Yeah, it's for suicide awareness. Here's the thing. They're all rooted in
Good
very
causes.
noble causes. My problem is that when people who are not of color or not within that, not within that group that you're trying to address and support, create these initiatives or enforce them or suggest that they become a thing in the workplace, they lose their
Credibility.
luster. And Jeans Day is one of those things. And again, maybe it's because I'm not directly affected by whatever the hell Jeans Day was for. But to me, if you're going to enforce these things at work or encourage people to be part of the awareness, there are better things you can do. And I understand that changing the color of your shirt is actually low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
So for dumb people or not aware people, yeah, that's going to affect them. And the more people, if someone's walking around going like, why the fuck are people wearing pink shirts all the time? And someone says, oh, that's for anti-bullying. Okay, cool. One person or more people have become aware of why people wear pink shirts. Mm-hmm. But do they understand what anti-bullying actually... Wow, Google's listening. But do they understand, like, what can they do to actually support anti-bullying? Probably not. Because if I wear a pink t-shirt, how's that going to help that kid who's getting stuffed in a locker? No, legit. Like, if I wear a black shirt, what if I'm just wearing a black shirt that day? Just because? Is that really going to show that I support anti-racism?
No,
but
it doesn't.
I think there are other things that people can do. And I completely get why. This is low-hanging fruit. This is a way to raise awareness in a very simple way, which is just change the color of your shirt. I really understand that. But if you want longevity, there has to be other things attached to it.
If you want actual results.
Yeah, you've got to do other things.
Like, segue back, when the NHL decided to speak up on behalf of racism because of the second shooting after George Floyd had happened, all the players, I give them this much. They realize, wait, we have 2 guys in here left in the playoffs, or 1 guy who's black. Maybe we should go talk to him and see what he wants to say about an issue that's affecting him. And this is where I lead that back to, like, employers. I won't name mine, but like my employer, they sent out a release saying at the end of it, like, saying that, well, to start off saying that they would like us to participate in Black Shirt Day, that the next day wear a black shirt to support the cause. Yeah, that's echoing the sentiments of those who created the motion. All for that. But then it becomes so patronizing because, and it lets you see what it really entails for those who are administering it on our behalf for the company. It says, let's start a discussion that can make change. And when I look at the panel of the people who are quote unquote saying that they are starting the discussion about racial issues, one, did they speak to anybody in the company who was black to see what we should do as a company? No. Two, the people who are the face of this cause, there's no one black. Three, to say that you're starting a discussion, that you want to be the ones to start the discussion on race, when you haven't even had a discussion about the racial thing you're promoting with the people internally. Of race internally, it just shows that this is just a reach around. It's a self jerk off. That's really what it is. Like, I had one of my coworkers even message me, and he was like irate with the suggestion of how we could help the cause, because he saw it as exactly as how I saw it. And it's kind of refreshing because he's not black. He's of a marginalized community himself, but he just saw it as an oppressed community himself. And he was like,
historically oppressed.
Yes. How is this going to make a change? Like, maybe do some work. Go and see like actual frontline things that are happening. Like, go speak to somebody who's black. Go ask them what they would like. Like, this is just performative allyship. And I was like, spot on, exactly how I felt about it, which is why I'm like, I ain't wearing shit. And I'm not going to promote the shit that we're doing because we're not doing it appropriately. But for me, I just feel like all these color coordinated causes, they play well in the boardrooms that create them, or the think tanks that create them. But then when they're applied, they're co-opted by those who they want to have them help move the cause forward into something else.
On the other side of that, which is at the very least, this is something they can do. So I completely understand, like, the HR,
it's low hanging fruit.
The HR teams going, okay, what are our initiatives this year? How do we want to become part of the social community? Because without employers doing this, a coalition like ARC might not get the visibility that they need. So there is a use for it. I think that there's just more to it than just the color of your shirt. Like, it's got to be, there needs to be something more authentic than that attached.
Once you pick up the cause, I think you need to be more authentic versus opportunistic. And it comes across, like, for those of us who are of color, who are within these companies that are taking on these causes, we see how they execute. It's not the cause that we have the issue with, it's their execution, which shows their thought process on it, which is the actual issue, which they're not even their thought process is being unveiled, which is the issue that we're trying to address. And it's like, don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. It's a self-reach around at that point when it gets to the corporations.
I think that happens in a lot of companies where your DEI squad, whoever's working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, are not of color.
Yeah,
or the people who are in that group, in the DEI group or initiative, they do not belong to any of the groups that are directly linked to the shirt days.
It's just more white savior.
Is there anybody in your group who is black who can talk about whether or not Black Shirt Day really is a thing we should do?
Whether we should be a part of it.
And if we are going to be a part of it because we have to be, because, at least we can help ARC with raising more awareness, how can we do it in a way that's authentic to us and the black people in our company? Yeah, because it's not every black person, as you know, feels the same. Not everybody feels the same about the way that people carry out support for whatever movement there is. In the same way that, like, if you were bullied as a kid, or if you have a kid who is being bullied at school and it's very real for them, or if you know somebody who's dealing with suicide, are those the people who are making decisions on how you carry out these initiatives? Because they should be, and they should always be. It's the same, if you put it on an even bigger scale, it's the same way that the indigenous leaders should be part of decision-making on land, which we talked about last time, because it's their land. It's always been their land. We're just playing in it.
Yeah.
Therefore, make them part of the decision-making process versus saying, at least we're supporting.
Yeah.
And yeah, still, again,
It's pacifying. It's like boiling a frog in water slowly. It's like, don't worry, I'll get you out while you're turning the heat up.
I would
slowly.
never do that. That's really weird. I've never heard that.
No, like you never heard the comparison of like if you leave a frog in cold water but slowly raise the temperature, they won't jump out. They'll kill themselves. But if you drop them in hot water, they'll jump out immediately.
No.
It's like slowly raising the temperature on somebody without really helping them.
Right. No, I've never heard that analogy, but I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Flag Shirt Day.
Yeah.
I don't know how it went. Curious.
I like the cause, but just seeing how it was executed from my company standpoint, I could see how this is just going to become another co-opted cause where I completely have a disgust for it. Like, I'm not for bullying kids, but the process that they've taken to stop bullying makes me want to bully them. Like, don't tell me that I have to wear a pink t-shirt to be a kind. Like, fuck you.
I hope that you don't bully children.
No, I don't bully children. Come on now. I mean other humans.
Right, okay.
But it's you can only bully other adults who have a child's mentality, because it ends up being child abuse. Because they're like, you shouldn't be, a grown man should not be able to be bullied.
Yeah, but grown men bully.
True.
So
no, but I'm saying, like, once you get to an age where you grow, you should have enough, like, you should grow into enough self-confidence where you can be like, no, fuck you. Like, you should be able to be like, no, fuck you, to somebody within your life. And I'm like, okay, for your entire life? After a while, it's like, no, you need to be, like, kicked a little, like, fight back. Do something. Don't be like, I'm just going to go over here and write it in my journal and then kill myself.
But not everybody has that attitude. I think there are different ways to deal with it.
I agree about the...
not everybody reacts to... Like, you could just be like, okay, and move on.
But I think when you push these movements, it creates a mob of people who say you need to think like this about bullying. And that's where you get the opposition, where it no longer helps the process, where you create bullies against you, against your cause. You're like, no, you're trying to, in a way, mentally bully me into believing your approach in every instance of a kid who needs assistance. No, sometimes they need to be told, like Hawk, Cobra Kai. Sometimes you need to be told, hey, so what?
You're a douche.
So what? You have a fucking cut lip. So what? What's next? Like some people need that. Not everybody needs it. It's okay.
Yes, sensei. Yeah, in the same way that not everybody reacts the same. I think that's the problem with awareness, is that for a lot of these companies who don't have a dedicated DEI team, or don't have trained professionals, or don't have people of color, or people who are part of marginalized groups within their DEI task force, is that it's a very narrow way to approach support and to showcase or to model allyship. Like, there are so many different ways that
put some money in some black businesses instead. That'll be a whole lot more sincere.
Maybe for your town hall, you order from a black business. And you don't make a big stink about it. You just say, hey, we're going to order from these people. They do this food. Like, I think that it should be, I don't think that, then this is just personal, it's my opinion, that if you want to be an ally to any marginalized group, that the best way to do it is to make it not about you. Is to make, not necessarily that, because everybody's selfish to a certain point. I think the best way to support any of these initiatives is to normalize how you interact with that particular group. So instead of making it, you know what, once a week, I'm going to order from a black business. Why don't you just find food that you like that black people tend to make and just make it part of your life?
Yeah.
Instead of going, you know what, I'm going to contribute to this charity about anti-bullying. I don't know, when you see people getting bullied, or you see kids or whatever it is, why don't you just talk to them about it? Why don't you just try to work it out? Be somebody who is a facilitator of peace in those situations. When you see people shitting on, like, people with disabilities, whatever it may be, why don't you just talk about accessibility and go, well, it's not that deep. Like, you don't have to shit on that person who has no legs. Mm-hmm. They're probably a lot better at some other shit than you. Just normalize support for everybody in every group.
Don't make the return about yourself by, like, adding a hashtag to make sure your company can be seen supporting Black Shirt Day.
I don't know if that's more for, if that's the thing, I don't know who it's for. I don't know if that's visibility for ARC so that they can physically see how many people are supporting their asks, which is wonderful, or if it's a vanity thing for the employer. And it's hard to know sometimes, right? Like, you never really know who's behind that. Because Van City, for example, big supporters of ARC. I follow them because they were my community banking. They have a picture of their team on Zoom that is a diversity, equity, and inclusion group, and they have like out of the 9 people, there are 3 Black people who are, and they're all wearing. There's Asian people on that team. I think there's like a couple of Indigenous people, and then maybe 1 white person or 2, but they're all wearing black shirts and they're happy as shit. Maybe they've approached it a different way, but I just think that there should be more intention about how social initiatives aren't like a big thing. Just do it in your everyday.
I agree. That's about it, eh?
Yeah. So wait, why did you name this episode whatever you named it? I don't remember.
Where's the snow at, Patna?
Oh, that's not what it's called.
So then what's it called?
Something about powder.
Where's the powder at, Patna?
Right. You're looking for snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Same.
That's it.